doesn't matter what zip code you're born in and to whom you're born, that, you know, when you grace the doors of the schools that you attend, that you know you're getting the best education has to offer.
Mid-South Viewpoint, a Christian news and information feature of Bott Radio Network 640 AM, discussing the news, views, issues, and concerns that affect our community. Join us now for today's edition of Mid-South Viewpoint.
Welcome back to Mid-South Viewpoint. I'm Byron Tyler. Today, back in the studio with us is Elliot Perry and John Carroll. We got into a conversation on our last visit about education and about some really positive things that are happening for our kids. And that's what education is about, is our children. And John Carroll is the director of the city leadership, and he has these really nice luncheons once a month. They're called forums. He invited me to one recently, and I went because the guy who was going to come speak, his name was Elliot Perry, you know, former NBA player. He does the color commentating for the Memphis Grizzlies. And I said, oh boy, I'm going to get to see Elliot. I remember those days when he was running that ball up and down the court for Memphis State. And kept me on pins and needles watching him play, and some exciting wins and those three-pointers. And well, you know, I get there, I have my little box lunch and started, munching down. And then John informs me that Elliot's schedule got kind of, reversed, and he wasn't able to be there. But he said, I promise you, you're going to get a chance to meet Elliot Perry. So that's what we're doing right now. And this has been a real treat to have Elliot, you back on for a second round of talking about something you're very passionate about. Right. You grew up here in Memphis, as you said on our last program. You attended Treadwell High School, graduated from there. Yep. An outstanding basketball career there at Treadwell, not to mention as a University of Memphis, 10 years with the NBA. But you wanted to do more or get more out of life than just drawing with that enormous NBA paycheck.
I don't know if it was enormous, but not compared to some of these other guys. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you had the taste of the high life, which so many in the urban community look at, and so you're able to relate, and you're able to say, "Hey, this is really what it's like." And there's one thing you don't want to miss out on your journey, and that is education. So important.
Yeah, I think it's the most important. We talk about sports and education. I think that's the way we kind of put it. But in a lot of ways, it should be education first and then your sports, because there's a small percentage of young men and women who make it in professional sports. That's just the bottom line. There are 450 jobs, maybe a little bit more in the NBA. Yeah. And there are, probably millions of basketball players, and every young guy thinks that they can make it and play in the NBA. And that's a great dream to have, but, in case it doesn't happen, you really need to prepare yourself. And it's not just athletically, but I just think, when you prepare yourself mentally, you prepare yourself to have a lot of different opportunities. And I think that's the most important thing for young people to know.
Well, I heard that the jump from high school, you can be a standout in high school sports, that into college there's a pretty good jump there. And then the jump from college into the pros is really big.
Jump. Yeah, I found that out. The hard way. Definitely when I, got drafted by the Clippers in the second round, and I made the ball club, got cut 10 games into the season, went to La Crosse, Wisconsin, played, got called back up by the Charlotte Hornets, played the year out there, and then spent the next year and a half in the CBA. So, it wasn't a easy journey. Spent the next year and a half in the CBA, and then got called up to the Phoenix Suns. And, the Lord just, blessed me to have an opportunity to play there and have an opportunity to make an impact in that community, find my niche in the NBA. And, after that, I was able to play 9 straight years after that, so a total of 10. But, I've always told young people that, I never saw myself as an NBA player. Like, I never thought I was good enough to play in the NBA. Just a few things that happened. First, God's grace and mercy. He just saw fit for me to be there. Yeah. That's just, I really believe that. And then secondly, I just had a positive attitude, and I worked hard. That was it. I worked on my game. I worked hard, and when I didn't play, I had a positive attitude. I didn't worry about it. I knew that, because I tell young people, and I don't care who you are, this is going to happen. At some point in your life, your number is going to be called. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how, but everybody, your number is going to be called at some point in your life. And if you're prepared, then you want your number to be called. If you're not prepared, then you don't want that. I mean, if you're studying for a test and you know you have a test tomorrow, and if you've studied and you know the stuff, you can't wait to get to school for the teacher to give you the test. But if you haven't, you know you're not prepared, you don't want to take that test. And so, this is a part of being prepared.
John, how did you and Elliot hook up, and how did you guys come to partner together, and when did that start?
Yeah, so I heard about Elliot when moving to Memphis, and had heard him on the radio when he started covering games, and had heard about his career, watched basketball growing up and saw him play back in the days. And so I knew who he was and had seen him play in the NBA, obviously. And then when we got here, over the last couple of years, I've been running an organization, city leadership, and as we're trying to help improve and catalyze change in the city, education is obviously one of the biggest issues going on. And so as Elliot was forming Education Champions, a mutual friend of ours, Tom Marino, said, hey, you guys need to get together and partner and allow some of your efforts and Elliot's passion to come together and create some synergy and see if we can't create some momentum for the city.
Well, and I think that's what's happening right now. We're seeing that as a result of this organization called Education Champions, something that we talked about last time toward the end of our program. And we want to spend more time today, Elliot, on this broadcast so our friends can especially connect with this website. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
The website is Memphis
EducationChampions.org.
MemphisEducationChampions.org. I was at the site earlier and saw some stories that you guys have posted, because I think it's so encouraging to see some positive things. That's why, John, I mentioned on our last broadcast, when I get around you, you give me that JC cocktail shot, of encouragement. That's what it is. That's what I call the JC cocktail shot of encouragement and vision and hope for our city, because you're giving us reason to say, hey, this is worth trying to make a change, make a difference, and together the leaders here can structure their lives and those that work under them in a way to bring vision and hope for our city. And really, education is such a foundational thing. I mean, we were talking off microphone, and you said that cities like Los Angeles, maybe Atlanta, some of the big cities in our country are looking at Memphis and the way we handle urban education to see what hope there is. I mean, that blows me away, John.
Well, there's not a doubt about that, Byron. I mean, Memphis has created innovation and change and been a world-changing leader in so many different markets over the years. And so it's exciting now to have the responsibility to be able to be the innovator in urban education. Unfortunately, our city's school system is in the way that it is, but also we have the leadership and the creativity and the passion and the fuel and the funds and the resources to make a not only just a noticeable change, but a revolutionary change for how urban education is done and perceived, the hope and effectiveness of what it can accomplish for these students in their lives. And every other major city in the country is looking towards Memphis and saying, what is happening there? How are they doing it? How's it coming together? And we are considered the thought leaders, the reform shapers of how urban education is going to be done for the next foreseeable future. And these people are expecting us to make a change. Every other city in the country that's got any sort of effort that's starting up, they're trying to get here, be a part of this community that's caring more about it. And these organizations that Elliot's featuring in Education Champions are just some of these great places that are coming from all over the country to be here to make it happen, and that this will be the place that it'll be known in the future that where urban education was changed.
Well, Elliot, on the last program you were talking about some of the champions, and one of which is the Memphis Teacher Residency Program under the direction of David Montague.
Yeah.
We've had David on in the past, and I was just thinking about what they're doing to recruit top-notch, educators to come to our city for a period of time to invest back in the city, you know? And, I mean, these are some of the stories that you're seeing repeat right here in our city.
Yeah, and then you talk about getting a master's in urban education. I mean, people don't even think about that, but I think that's a part of the whole vision for what urban education can look like, and infusing people into the urban education setting that view this as a mission, not just, I'm going here and just teaching kids, but view this as a mission. And I'm sure there are a lot of teachers out there who've given their lives to education, and so this is no way a diminish on any of the teachers that are out there, but we do consistently need that infusion of talent into our city, new vision, new voices, to make this thing work. And John talked about this being the hub and ground zero for urban education and urban education reform. If that's going to happen, we need to consistently find new voices and find new talent. And David Montague and his organization, Memphis Teacher Residency, is definitely one of those organizations.
We say at City Leadership all the time, everything rises and falls on leadership. And David Montague is one of the best leaders that I've ever met personally around the entire country. And his leadership of recruiting, blue chip talent to come and pursue urban education is just unbelievable. And the leaders that are coming in from all over the country that want to be part of this, listen, there are a lot easier jobs than urban education. Not only a lot, almost every other job in the country is an easier job than urban education. And these guys are coming in and saying, hey, not only do I believe I can do this, not only am I willing to do the hard work, but I'm going to push through all the tough times, and I'm going to make this my purpose to invest my life into, fixing what is probably the greatest civil rights issue in our country today, urban education.
Well, I think Elliot, kind of hit it on a moment ago when he said the mission, because we realize these guys aren't coming here for the money. It's not about that. I mean, you have to have a heart for it. Mm-hmm. Have a heart for change, and to see kids have a better future, and the sacrifices made at teach. We know that, again, the paychecks, really doesn't match up to what has to be given and what they have done to. I mean, teachers. I mean, when they leave school, they're taking the classwork with them at home and grading papers and getting ready for lesson plans. I mean, it's never ending.
It's never ending. But again, it has to be a labor of love. I mean, we do have some. Not to diminish anybody, we do have some great teachers in this city, in the district, in Memphis and Shelby County alike. And we have some fantastic teachers, some fantastic leaders. Yeah, exactly, heroes in this city. So again, this is an opportunity for us to help some people get better. Also, at the end of the day, you still need to infuse more talent and more knowledge, and just people who have a mission for giving kids the ultimate opportunity.
Well, and I think Elliot would agree with me, even though I'm going to get into kind of your world a little bit, but in our culture, we elevate pop singers, basketball players, movie stars, and all these kind of things. But in the reality, the church should look different than that. And I think that we need to call the church out to really elevate these occupations that are the true heroes of this world. And I would love to see churches really lift up and elevate and say, these teachers are the heroes of our community. Tell their stories, allow them to share, what's going on with them, pray over them intentionally, by name, having them be raised up as voices and role models for even these students and these young people to be able to see, hey, our church is about the biggest issues in our community, and that one of those is education, and these are the heroes that are on the front lines fighting that. And we should see pastors really lifting this up.
Well, we are seeing that happen in some churches in our area that are adopting some of the city schools, and they're doing acts of kindness and love toward the teachers and special occasions, and showing them honor, maybe through having a dinner for them, or giving them a special gift at Christmas time, or just saying, hey, here's a gift card to wherever. Right. Thank you for your labor of love for our kids.
Yeah, and that means a lot. I mean, I'm sure that if you're there every day, taking lesson plans home, grading homework, come back, dealing with kids and putting out fires, but also really trying to teach kids every day. It's a daunting task. No question about it. It's not easy.
Elliot, you mentioned a moment ago about the heroes, and you can meet some of these heroes on the website. Again, if you go to memphiseducationchampions.org, I was there, and you're going to meet some really fine folks, some that are going to really excite you, and you say, wow, this is happening right here in Memphis. Matter of fact, when I was watching the video on Albert Park, I was going, what city is this guy in, And then I'm saying, wait a minute, he's talking about MCS. He's here in Memphis.
Yeah.
he's making a difference on our kids. And I thought, well, this is really great.
Yeah, Albert Park, TFA teacher. He's here at Power Center Academy making a tremendous difference. If you look at Power Center Academy and what they've been able to accomplish in the Hickory Hill area, it's incredible what they've been able to accomplish in the Hickory Hill area. You talk about Jesse Jeff, who was a police officer in St. Louis, now, just had a vision one day that, he needed to do something more than what he was doing, was taking kids back and forth to the juvenile system, and, decided to have a career change. Now he's at Delano as an elementary teacher and doing a fantastic job there. Mandy Grisham.
Well, that Mandy Grisham, that story in itself, I think that really applies to probably a lot of our listeners. A lot of our listeners could relate to her because this is just an average mom, housewife, moved to the city, loves her kids, and started, investing and learning more about, the public school system. And she started an internet community group, I guess it was.
Yeah, I think if you ever met Mandy Grisham, the last word you'd probably think is average. This woman is just dynamite in caring for not only her kids, but the community. She really takes on and embodies that thing and said, hey, yes, I want my children to have a great education, but I want our entire community to have a great education. And so her and her husband moved into Cooper Young, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, when her oldest son was like 2, and took it upon herself with some other friends. It wasn't just her, and she'd be the first to tell you that there were some other people like the Spicklers and some other families that got involved in that and said, hey, let's start connecting together now, and let's start building the infrastructure for a great school system. For all that it wasn't just expecting it just to happen at kindergarten, just spontaneously, that community was going to happen and connection, that kind of stuff. And so at 2 years old, when her son was just 2, they started building those connections over the internet, started creating a parents group that eventually became a big part of this PTA there at their Peabody Elementary.
Well, really, this is where we see people taking possession of the education needs of our kids. And when I say not just, as Elliot on our last broadcast, we were talking about these kids aren't necessarily my kids that live under my roof. We're talking about the kids of our community that we're taking possession. We're going to try to make a difference for their lives, for the betterment of all.
Yeah, and that's a responsibility we all have. And I think that, if you're honest with yourself, if you're just thinking about self, then it doesn't make any sense. If you're thinking about my child and where my child is going to school, if that doesn't affect me, because I think at the end of the day, it's going to affect us all. We're talking about our future workforce here, and we're talking about giving kids an opportunity to live in a community where, and we want to live in that community, and we want our kids to live in that community where, it's a progressive community, it's an educated community, and it's a community that people want to be in and want to be a part of.
Something we didn't mention, you and your wife, you have a child.
Yeah, 4 years old.
4 years old, so education is right there.
Yeah, so it's, for me, it's definitely important, to first of all to be in a household that values education, and that to be and to hold her to some expectations already, and secondly, for me, it where she goes to school is not necessarily the most important thing, but it is that I have a choice to send her wherever I want to send her. At the same time, I still want to be able to use my voice and my platform to advocate for moms, kids who live in the communities where they think they don't have a voice, and they are not able to get the best of whatever that is, and to say that they deserve the best of whatever it is, just like I would want for my child, or just like you or John or anybody else would want for their child.
What about those conversations that you have in our city with those, Elliot, as you mentioned, don't feel like they have a voice? I'll say this. I said this before, that I haven't met a parent that doesn't want the best for their child. The one thing I think where I think we need to be more aggressive is expecting
those parents to advocate for their own children. So this is not just a, we do for you, or you know, it's a pity party or whatever. And it's not to say that you don't care about your child or anything like that, so we have to do everything for you. It's not that. It's saying that, look, we can do this together. We want the best for your child. We want the best for our children. We want the best for our community. At the same time, you have to use what's most important. And I feel like everybody, they have a voice. And if you can use that voice to make change, I mean, imagine our communities rallying around their neighborhood schools, much like Mandy, and parents getting together and expecting that school to be the best. They're sending their kids to school prepared every day, every morning, and they expect the best from that school. At the same time, when there are PTA meetings, we expect you to be here. That's a contract we should have, an agreement we should have, that if something is happening inside of this school, that it's my responsibility as a leader and as a teacher to come to you and to be able to come to you and say, Elliot is not getting X, Y, and Z done, and you help correct that.
John, Elliot, as we have been visiting on the last broadcast and today, I don't want this to be a program or a couple of programs of information and look what Elliot Perry's doing in our city.
Yeah,
that's really
definitely not about me.
That's really good. Look what John Carroll's doing. That's really good. What are some challenges that you guys would like to offer our listening audience, Bot Radio right now, listening to our broadcast?
If you're not familiar with the website MemphisEducationChampions.org, go check it out. See some of these stories and see some things. Elliot's just looking to advocate and share these stories of all these positive things that are happening in our city. For the most part, if you go read the newspaper, 3 out of the top 5 stories is going to be some negative, controversial issue that has to do with education. And it's hard to find all these positive, unbelievable, great things that are happening. And so Elliot's just trying to highlight them. And so we would love for you to go look at those stories, check them out, listen to them, read them, and then from there, share them. Tell other people. Say, God, you've got to see this video about Mandy. You've got to see about this teacher that moved here for Teach for America. I mean, you need to go read some of this stuff, and then from there, tell us stories. They know more stories than we even do. Like, come share them with us. Email them to us, tweet them to us, Facebook, whatever. Go find those stories. Write them, share them. Let's get them out there and let us help you advocate that story back out to other people. We would love for it to become a culture in Memphis where we're talking about these unbelievable positive things that are happening in education. And so go hear the stories, then go share the stories, and let's create where people are just taking the initiative to share those stories, and that just becomes natural. You're like, hey, well, you heard about that teacher. I can't wait to tell you about this mom. Or, oh my gosh, that mom did great. Wait to hear about what this dad did at his school. You know what I'm saying? And where we're one-upping each other on that instead of something else.
Yeah, and also, we want to really highlight some of the, teachers, the schools. I mean, I think that there are some great schools in this district. I mean, I think about, Rosalind Davis, who turned around Hanley Elementary School. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think about the positive things that are happening at Whitehaven. We talked about Delano. But then some of the charter school leaders. I mean, these are young leaders for the most part. I mean, we talked about Power Center Academy and Getta Lewis that's out there. Freedom Prep, Robin Webb, Veritas, Tim Ware, Michael Whaley at Memphis College Prep. So there are a lot of young leaders out there that have started schools and that are getting the results. And then thirdly is that, people can't give to some of these organizations. I mean, you look at some of the organizations that we partnered with, they do need resources, and again, this is not about fundraising, but, if your heart is led to give to those organizations, then, so be it.
Well, we want to make a commitment to you guys here at Bot Radio as a regular feature.
Yeah.
Allow our microphones to be a platform for you, your sponsors, your teachers. Bring some students in. I mean, let's bring this.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'd love to just offer this to you guys.
But that's what I'm most excited about, is to be able to sit here or let other people sit here You mentioned you had David on the show, but also, Athena Turner, who's head of Teach for America. The new leaders, Janice Crawford over New Leaders, Kenya Bradshaw for Stand for Children. So some of these people talk about, their impact in the community, their visions about what they want to do and how they want to see the community shine as it relates to education and education reform, but also, some of these school leaders as well and teachers too. So,
yeah, we definitely want to give all those people a platform. I'd like to give one more challenge if we got just a second, Byron, and just say, man, there's 190 schools in the MCS school system, and there's 3,000 churches in the city of Memphis. There's just no reason why we shouldn't have 4 or 5 churches in line to adopt every single school in our city, and they should be rallying around them, not only with tutors and resources and prayer and encouragement and all that kind of stuff, but even just neighborhood-wise and really round around and say, hey, our kids go to these schools and we're going to be engaged here, and we're going to, if you can't find parents to do a PTA, then we'll help engage that for them and help drive that up and encourage that. If you can't if you need this done, if you need that done, we're going to be here to surround it and be a part of this city and build it up. And we're going to say, hey, this may be one of the weakest parts of our cities right now, but the churches in our city, the leaders in our cities are going to say, we're willing to not only just tell our people they should do that, but what if we challenge pastors to say, our next hire on my church staff is going to be someone who helps us pursue education in our city? I mean, that would be just an unbelievable challenge. And there's just too many churches for this to be an issue with only 190 schools.
Well, and some of the churches are already engaged in what you're talking about here, John. I've heard stories and
a
how
lot.
Yeah, there's a lot, and what's happening, some real positive results. I mean, these churches are actually impacting the administration of the schools, the teachers, not just by the gifts, but I mean, they're actually having a spiritual impact on their lives. Some of these people are attending the churches, because they're seeing this love for no cause. I talked to one pastor. He said, look, we're here for you. We don't want a plaque in the hallway. We don't even want people to know that we're here. We just want to be here for you. That's the kind of servant leadership that we need in our community from our churches.
Yeah, and definitely there's already a lot of great churches who are doing that kind of stuff, and I just love to see that happen more, and they're really just challenging, and not just say that's an aspect of what we do, but really just say, hey, we're going to really put some serious effort and really maybe even just laser focus some stuff into making that happen. And we at City Leadership, if there's a church out there that's wanting to help find a school to sponsor or needing some advice on how to create a strategy for how to do that, we would love to even be a part of help coaching and training that.
That's awesome. Education champions, a heartbeat for you, Elliot, and others in our city. I know that you want to make yourself available to come share with groups, churches, whoever will give you a platform. You're really serious about this.
Yeah, I'm totally serious about it. We've had tons of speaking engagements. We want to ramp that up and to get out in front of more people to share what's positive that's happening in Memphis, but also to challenge people on this issue, to let them know that, this is not kind of a browbeating thing. This is this is an encouragement thing. This is all about encouragement. This is all about challenging them on how they can get involved, on how they can make a difference, whether it's with resources, whether it's with their influence, whether it's with their voices. We need it all.
When you're just dreaming, and you're just dreaming for the education champions and the future and in the years to come, what's your dream? What are you dreaming about?
That it doesn't matter what zip code you're born in and to whom you're born, that, when you grace the doors of the schools that you attend, that you're getting the best education has to offer. And for me, that's, because I think education can solve so many of the other problems, because when you're educated, and that's in a lot of forms, but you think different. You start to hold yourself to higher expectations. You want to further what you want to do in life, so you don't want to settle and you don't want to conform. And too many of our brightest kids, a lot of them conform to their communities because, one, they they don't think anybody expects anything out of them. But also, secondly, is that it's easy to conform. It's easy to be in your environment and say, forget it, this is where I want to be. And I always tell young kids that the easiest thing there is to do is to give up. Anybody can do that. The hardest thing is to do is to continue to get up every morning and go to school with a positive frame of mind and wanting to learn. And it takes a village. So this is not just a individual thing. I mean, we need you to continue to encourage young people that you around, John, myself, everybody, to continue to encourage, because you never know. Just that day may be the day that you say something positive that reaches a young person and turns on a light.
In our society here, especially in the States, we live such segregated lives in so many ways, not just racially speaking. I used to live on an island, and when you talk about it takes a village, I lived in a village,
yeah.
And I saw how the community, helps each other when a major storm came through. It wasn't like, your house, my house, let's work together to fix up and put back together the things that the storm, took down. And so sometimes I've heard people refer to the village as a negative, but really, when the church is involved with it too, and where it should be, as you were talked about, John, just now, the passion of the church being involved, then the village concept, us working together, is a good thing. So, listen, guys, this has been great. John, any thoughts you want to say?
Yeah, just say MemphisEducationChampions.org. Go on there, and there's a form where you can actually request Elliot to come out and speak at one of your venues or events, or just your birthday party, right? No, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, we're taking all those requests that we can and putting them on a schedule and getting those handled for him, and just trying to help coordinate his efforts to go share these positive
It's not
stories.
for a one-on-one challenge with Elliot. I mean, on the court. No, this is
definitely not a one-on-one challenge on the court, for sure. And I want to give a lot of credit to a few people. Obviously, we John and what they're doing, and Mercedes, who's really been doing all the legwork for.
She's off the microphone
setting up appointments,
and
so
here
she's just sitting
smiling
over there,
big right now.
Kick back, but I do want to give her credit for.
Yeah, Mercedes on our staff at Sea Leadership, she's doing
exactly.
a great job.
Give her some credit for her time. I mean, I know this is not easy.
Hey, Elliot, Perry, John.
I was just going to say one more thing, too. Channel 3 is giving us a spot where they're doing some news stories on every other Friday or so, where Elliot's getting to feature an Education Champion. So check out News Channel 3. You can go on their website, see some of the Education Champion stories online already, but there's some new ones coming, I think, almost every other Friday this spring.
Yeah. And you can hear more from Bot Radio, too.
And hopefully we can hear more from Bot Radio, so I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, so just, consistently just putting it out until... we can reach, hopefully we can reach thousands of people.
Elliot, John, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Byron.
Friends, that's all the time we have on our program here, again with Elliot Perry and John Carroll. Go to the website, MemphisEducationChampions.org, MemphisEducationChampions.org. I'm Byron Tyler. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Mid-South Viewpoint. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can email us. Our address is wcrv@botradionetwork.com. This has been Mid-South Viewpoint, another Christian news and information feature from Bot Radio Network 640 AM.